attention. What might change this? The Invictus Games in Birmingham in 2027 is the most obvious near-term inflection point. Harry will come to Britain for Invictus. That is certain. It is the one commitment he has that transcends the current impasse, the one project that has enough genuine credibility and enough institutional importance that its cancellation or Harry's absence from it would itself become the story. When Harry comes for Invictus, there will be questions about whether the family connection can be managed alongside the public event, whether a private visit can be arranged separately, whether the conditions that currently make Sandringham impossible can, over the intervening period, be changed enough to allow something between now and 2027. A great deal will happen. The court case verdict will arrive. The security question will reach some resolution through legal or administrative channels. The Sussex commercial operation will continue its current trajectory toward either some form of stabilization or further decline. The King's health situation will develop in ways that are by their nature uncertain. Any of these developments might shift the calculus, but the fundamental condition on which everything else depends, the trust question, the privacy question, the control question, will not be resolved by the passage of time alone. It requires a change in behavior demonstrated over a sustained period that is visible enough and credible enough to actually change the palace's assessment of the risk. That change in behavior has not begun. There is no visible evidence of a Sussex operation that is becoming more discreet, less disclosing, more oriented toward privacy. The brand requires the opposite. The content strategy requires the opposite. The financial situation, which continues to pressure the operation, requires the generation of new material that can be converted into revenue. And that material, for the Sussex brand, has always been the family story. The answer from the palace is no. The reasons for the answer are clear. The conditions that would change the answer are understood, but not currently being met. This is where things stand. Not dramatically, not with the closure of a verdict or the warmth of a reconciliation, simply with a door that remains shut and a family that remains divided, and a situation that is the accumulated consequence of decisions made over years that cannot be undone by a press briefing or an invitation to Sandringham. Harry needs to make a choice. The palace has made its choice clear. And the space between those two positions, the space where reconciliation might eventually become possible, remains, for now, exactly as empty as it has been. Let us go deeper into the specific institution that is making this calculation, because understanding how the monarchy actually works helps to understand why the trust question is not merely emotional but structural. The British monarchy has survived for centuries in an environment that, for most of its history, was deeply hostile to its continued existence. Revolutions have swept away every comparable institution across Europe. The French, Russian, German, Austrian, and dozens of other monarchies that existed in 1900 are gone. The British one remains. And the reason it remains is not primarily military or political. It is cultural. The monarchy has managed, through centuries of adaptation, to remain relevant to the people it serves, while remaining sufficiently mysterious to sustain the reverence that relevance depends on. This balance, relevant but not transparent, present but not exposed, is the operational formula on which the institution runs. It is why the Queen never gave interviews explaining her personal views. It is why the palace does not respond to press stories in real time. It is why, as the Queen put it, the rule is never complain and never explain. The moment you begin explaining, you have submitted to a framework that treats the institution as subject to external evaluation, rather than as operating on its own terms. You have opened a door that cannot easily be closed. Harry and Meghan opened that door and walked through it. The documentary, the memoir, the interviews, each of these was an act of explaining, of saying, here is what happened to us, here is how we were treated, here is why the institution failed. Each act of explaining submitted the institution to a framework of external evaluation and found it wanting. And each act used the specific raw material of private family life, specific conversations, specific moments, specific emotional exchanges to make that case. The institution cannot allow this to continue, not because it is above accountability. The monarchy has faced accountability pressures throughout its history and has adapted to them, but because the specific kind of accountability being applied by the Sussex operation is not accountability at all. It is content. It is the conversion of private family material into commercial and reputational product. And that conversion is corrosive to the specific thing on which the monarchy depends. The sense that there is something private, something real, something genuinely beyond the reach of the cameras and the content strategy. Once people believe that every royal family interaction is a potential Netflix segment, the institution has lost something that it cannot easily recover. The mystique is gone, the distance is gone. What remains is something closer to a celebrity family whose dynamics are interesting